usually if you go out, you would find that in most of the places, the world is full of disappointed people.
So you mean abroad, you mean?
Anywhere.
When you go out of the college life and all? Just in general, okay.
Just in general. Out there, people are at Ashoka, at a university, people are disappointed of their courses, of their professors, of their marks, of their grades, of what they're doing in life in general.
Yeah.
If you go out, people are disappointed of their job. They don't have job satisfaction. They don't have a comfortable life. Their finances are not stable. If you go abroad, people are still struggling with finances. A lot of tax, all of that kind of thing is happening. All of this roots from the fact that you took some decision. Either you took a wrong decision or you took the right decision at the wrong time.
What does that mean? Right decision at the wrong time, matlab?
So if you think about it, take the example of an author. At some point of time, I want to be an author in my life. Okay. Now, if I leave physics right now, if I choose philosophy, if I choose English department or something like that, and I say, I want to do a creative writing major or whatever, and I'm gonna put out some of my stories, some of my novels. I will go out. I have left physics. Being a creative writer, the job options over there are not great. Unless, of course, I produce a J.K. Rowling or a kind of a Harry Potter shit.
And she got rejected 17 times as well.
So many times. So if I do something like that, unless I do a breakthrough kind of a thing, which is like 1 in a million kind of a case, for the next at least a decade, there's going to be a lot of struggle. And I will have to survive on the bare minimum. So although there's so much tension going on around, my friends are doing so well in life. Some of them are abroad settled. Some of them are, buying cars and all of that. And look at me. I earn 15,000 rupees a month. I don't even own a house. I live in a stupid flat with 3 flatmates kind of thing at the age of 25, 30. And all of that pressure is going to ruin you a lot. Ruin you in a sense, I'm not saying that it's not a demotivation wala thing. If you're doing all of that, it's a very good thing. But in a sense, you won't be satisfied. You took a decision. It was you liked writing. I loved writing. I loved stories, all of that, producing all of that. And I took the step. That's one aspect of it. And then maybe most of the people, even after 20, 30 years of being in the field, they cannot produce something which is worthwhile.
Yeah.
They may become a newspaper article writer and earn from it, a freelancer or something like that. Only rarely people produce a material which goes bestseller, worldwide bestseller, something like that, and earn something out of it, or earn fame out of it, or whatever.
Yeah.
The other case is that you just join some simple business. You open something like become some content writer in some company or write advertisement for people or something like that. That's one approach. The other approach could have been that although I love writing, I've also loved physics. So I continue doing physics. I continue my research journey. I do a PhD or whatever like that. I become, say, a researcher or whatever, assistant professor, teacher somewhere. Once I have some sort of a
stable life.
Stability is one thing. The thing is that, once I've sort of
some certainty,
proven myself that I can survive out there. Now, if after that, you don't have to be it's not about financial stability. I do not believe in the fact that you need to be financially stable to do something. Of course, it's a good thing if you're financially stable. But it's not that if your finances are not great, you can't do shit in life. Of course you can. There's a lot of people have done that, and you can also do that. But just think about this journey, that if I do this physics wala journey, that I love everything in there. And once through this time, although I'm focusing majorly on physics, in my part-time, in my fun time on the weekends, I'm writing. I'm continuing my work to write. Once I hit a certain threshold where I feel, okay, now I've hit a good spot in writing, I transition to writing. Given that I have been in academia and feel like this for so long, I have built a lot of strong network in the field. I have talked to a lot of people who are doing this sci-fi kind of work or just science. I've gathered a lot of more ideas for my novel. Suppose if I'm producing a sci-fi novel, I've gathered many more ideas for my novel. I've talked to a lot of people. I must have met a few people who have produced books and all like this.
Yeah.
Overall, at the end, now if I publish, if I say, if I say to any publisher that I'm a freelancer and I want to publish, okay, I want to publish a sci-fi book. But if I say, I'm a professor of physics at Stanford, and I want to write I have this my sci-fi book. I want you to publish it. Who do you think is gonna be more?
Of course, the Stanford case. Yeah.
Of course, not even Stanford. If anywhere, any professor you say,
Yeah.
if you want to say DU or Ashok or anywhere you say, if it's a sci-fi something like that, of course they wanna read it through. But the when you say your affiliation, it suddenly becomes much more sort of credible and weighted. Your argument becomes much more strong. Now the decision that I took was the same, right? Changing, being an author or writing or publishing, something like that.
Or academia, yeah.
But the time that I took that decision at was different. Once I left physics entirely, and right after my college or whatever, I took the decision. Or I continued doing something that I like physics. And after that, I took the decision of changing to this novel wala field entirely. I took the same decision but at the different times. So if the
right decision at the wrong time, now I get, okay.
The right decision at the wrong time.
Yeah.
If the decision is good, you want to be an author, fantastic. But at what time you're taking it, that also matters a lot. I can go out right now and I have some, theories kind of a thing going on in my old mind. I read up a lot of things. I sort of brainstorm a lot of ideas. If I go out and I claim that I have this one theory, listen to it. People are not gonna give shit to it. Who am I to produce a physics theory or whatever like that? It's a good decision to put the theory out. But if I let it go on for some time, if I become a PhD, even a PhD, as a PhD student, if I say, or as a postdoc, as a researcher, I say, okay, this is my theory. I'm putting it out. I'm going to get much more credibility. My work is going to be much more noticed. And people will not just reject it at once.
Right now, yeah.
Then compared to right now. Right now, no one will listen to it. Ki, who the hell are you? Someone talking. And that time, if I say it, so it's a lot about timing. Ki, good. You know what the decision is. You want to put it out. That's a good decision. But the timing is very important. When are you putting it out? The same thing comes with investment as well. And again, talking, you have money and you want to invest in cool thing. But when are you putting that money is the important part. The timing.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think it's very important for people to, taking the right decision is of course a good thing. Right time is also important. And any such decision must not be taken without some base experience.
Wait, so I have a question. I think for younger people, especially people our age, get as much experience as possible, use that pool of experience or draw from that pool of experience to make decisions and be comfortable with the fact that leaves some amount of uncertainty in your decisions. I think that's pretty much my main takeaway from this thing. But at Ashoka, I feel like, I love physics, as do some people here. I like maths as well. First of all, Ashoka is a liberal arts college. 10 साल पहले खुला है. Physics STEM majors are fairly new here. There aren't that established students here. मुट्ठी भर है, which is a good thing because you get more personal time with professors, stronger bonds and all that. But the thing is, when you overhear conversations or just the general culture क्या है यहाँ का, most people are econ majors, so they go on to consulting, that kind of thing, right? So it feels like the right decision for a lot of people would be or to get into ACC, Shoa Consulting Club, or it would be to prepare for a prestigious third-year internship in maybe, I don't know, BCG or I don't know what anything consulting, Bain or Nalberry, that kind of thing, to form a very good relationship with the professor, to get an excellent LOR and to land internships. क्यों? ताकि अच्छी जॉब मिल जाए. Well, अच्छी जॉब का क्या करना है? Well, पैसे आएंगे उससे. Well, पैसे आएंगे तो क्या? Well, then people will love me more. Apparently, that's the connection that a lot of us face. I'm not saying कि मैं नहीं करता. मुझे भी बहुत बड़ा influence कर रहा है उस connection में. So there's a lot of pressure to make the right decisions, but the right decisions are governed by other people or the messaging you received. I mean, just the fact that you're majoring in physics is bold enough, I think. Because you don't study a field like physics because you want to make money. I'm going to be clear with that. Or math,
Certainly.
biology.
Certainly, yeah.
ठीक है, तुम्हारा इसलिए करना है कि जिज्ञासा है तुम्हारी वहाँ पर. ठीक है. So for those right now हमारे campus के अंदर who are very frustrated, trying to decide कि यार ACC join करूँ या फिर should I enroll for this short play जो semester run by a PhD student. What should I... that kind of pressure, that वो डर कि am I making the wrong decision? Will this mess up my internship opportunities? First of all, have you been through that for a while?
What kind of pressure exactly?
To make the right decision, in the sense, the decision that grants you the most certainty. So a lot of people think if I get good grades, if I land good consulting internships in these companies, a placement offer is guaranteed. Placement offer means annual package itne ka lag hi jayega. I'm gonna have a good career. By good career, I simply mean income and network. But we've talked about how that much certainty often leads to not just disappointment, but just you hate your life, or you don't enjoy it as much as you thought you would enjoy it. And when you truly enjoy your life are actually the unplanned days. Jahan par you didn't plan that, but it happened unexpectedly. For example, I don't say I write a script, but I do have a set of questions whenever I shoot a podcast. And today, I barely looked at my questions. This was very random. So I didn't look at this, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every second of it. No. But I didn't look at this thing. I'm not following a structure. So, for those जो इतने प्रेशर पे हैं, मतलब कुछ है जो उनके लिए इनका प्रेशर एलिविएट करेगा. Which is that? हाँ.
See, I think what's putting you in pressure, in my opinion, is the clarity itself.
Okay.
You have this idea that you want to, after Ashoka, you want to get this job. From this job, you're going to put this much money. Once you have this much money, you have this much experience, you're going to go to this job. You're going to settle here. And then if among in this ladder that you have created in your mind, if one of the step goes missing, the pressure builds in. Another step goes missing or here and there, the pressure builds in. In 99% of the 90, because you are not an antaryami, most of the steps are going to go missing.
Yeah.
That means most of the things are going to build so much pressure on you. So in my opinion, this sort of excessive clarity is going to put you in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that clarity is important. You should know about yourself at least. Ki what you enjoy, what you like doing, what are you good at. You may enjoy something which you're not good at.
Uh-huh.
I love quantum mechanics. Okay. I love the field. I love the subjects. I love discussing about it.
Talk about yourself
honestly,
here.
I'm talking about myself. But I'm not good at it. Honestly, I'm not good at it. Okay, because you give me a problem right now. And I can sort of confidently say, or I'll have doubt on myself, कि यार मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा. I love it. You talk to me about the theory, you talk to me about how it functions, and I'll be able to explain you a little bit on the board. But if you give me a problem, I'm not good at the subject itself.
Mm-hmm.
There are many other things which I'm apparently, not just me, but people in general are good at, but they don't like it. ऐसा भी होता है कि sometimes you are good at something.
मजा नहीं आता उसमें.
For example, for instance, some people are very good at talking, but they don't necessarily like talk. वो कभी ऐसे मतलब बात करने में बहुत उनसे बात करके मतलब कि क्या कितना तमीज़दार बंदा है, कितना अच्छे से बात करता है, सॉफ्ट स्पोकन है, पर अंदर ही अंदर बंदा लगा कि यार साला मैं जाऊँ कब यहाँ से. Like बहुत टाइम हो गया यार, 2 घंटे से बात कर रहा हूँ, इस बंदे से चला जाता. I hope he's not referring to this podcast right now. No, not talking to you. But in general, I'm saying that also happens.
Uh-huh.
So in that sense, no, I'm not just kidding about that. But I've seen a lot of people जो extrovert in a sense, बातों से लगे कि बहुत अच्छी बात कर सब कुछ कर रहे हैं.
Yeah.
But they don't enjoy it actually. A lot of things like that. A lot of people are very good when it comes to writing. You know, like they can write very well.
Mm-hmm.
And when they write some proposal of an event or something like that, it's so like to the point and clear कि मन के मतलब पढ़ के लगता है कि इसको तो approve कर ही दो. But then ask them, do you actually like writing?
No.
They may not enjoy writing. They are like कि किसी ने काम दे दिया तो मैंने लिख दिया. Something like that kind of a thing. So first, it's very important for you to figure out what you like, what you enjoy, sort of thing, and if you are good at it or not.
Mm-hmm.
If these two things combine, you enjoy the thing and you are good at it,
right,
then things becomes easier for you. Then you have some clarity about your next step. Now the problem with getting this extensive clarity is that, of course, these steps are going to be pulled away and you're going to face the disappointment कि यार मैं ये करना चाहता था. I see so many people out there during this जब कंपनीज आती है कैंपस में,
प्लेसमेंट सीजन,
थर्ड ईयर. या एंड आई वाज टॉकिंग टू दिस वन गाय, ही वाज लाइक यार इस कंपनी में तो मिल ही जाएगा, ये तो मेरा थर्ड ऑप्शन है. मुझे तो बेन में इस कंपनी में जाना है, मुझे इसमें तो 100% मिल ही जाएगा. और उसको ना बेन में मिला ना इसमें मिला.
ओह गॉड.
मतलब जिसको समझा थर्ड ऑप्शन माना था,
बैकअप बोल रहा था,
जब जिसको बैकअप का बैकअप बोल रहा था, सेकंड ऑप्शन तो बैकअप था, बैकअप का बैक उसमें भी नहीं मिला. So there are people like ऐसा, and it's very common. It's not a bad thing. It's a very common thing.
Okay.
So in that sense, I mean, having this much of clarity is gonna put you in too much pressure. And the problem with pressure is not, of course, like pressure कोई भी कहेगा कि भाई I can take care of as much pressure as I want. I can always improvise and recreate my plan. Pressure is not a problem. The problem is missing out on the experience. When you have too much clarity, you miss out a lot. For instance, the approach that there are two approaches, like I always say. Ki one approach is that you keep figuring out your next step. Ki what is my next step? I'm going to do a BSc. I'm going to do a master's. I'm going to do an MBA. Whatever. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to do this, like that. You choose step by step what's going to be your next
So
step.
figure out all your steps at once, या फिर you do one thing and next step किया है, इस पर ध्यान देते हैं सिर्फ.
Something like that, yeah.
So one
Like
step
you-
is this, let's focus on the next one.
Exactly.
Let's not plan everything out.
plan everything out. Yeah, like, just look at your next step. कि मैं
Okay.
यहाँ से अगला step कहाँ जा सकता हूँ, kind of a thing.
Uh-huh.
And they follow this approach.
Yeah.
The next approach is that you only keep the top in your mind,
And then you backtrack from there.
and from there you figure out कि मैं अभी यहाँ पर हूँ, and
यहाँ तक
this
कैसे
is where
पहुँचा?
I want to go. And now, what way is the easiest and the fastest and sort of the most efficient way for me to reach there?
Yeah.
So you're not looking at the next step. You're not figuring out step by step things. You're looking at the entire picture and you're seeing कि मैं इसको यहाँ से कैसे पहुँचूँ.
हाँ.
For instance, one of my goal in life is that in some way, in whatever possible, but once the day I die, I want the environment's health or the earth's health to be better
Then it was when you were alive.
than it was when I was alive. When I die, because of me, I should have contributed at least that much. Ki the earth's health is considerably better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once I have that, I have 2-3 goals like that I want to. I have some novel in my mind, some ideas in my mind, and I want to make a novel out of it. That's one of the ideas. So, and the way our education system is not working, that's another of my goal.
Mm-hmm.
Ki no matter what I need, before I die, I want the revolution in the education system.
Mm-hmm.
So there are few ideas like these that I have. And I figure out that if I'm pursuing a field like physics, if I do something like, if right now only I pursue creative writing, I may not be able to reach there.
Yeah.
Maybe I can write a poem or whatever like that, which is, very good for human mind or whatever. But that's not gonna put much effect.
Yeah.
That there are a lot of uncertainties and what if I'm actually into that kind of poems and stuff like that. But in a sense, when I had the final goals in my mind, I thought that if I take this field of physics, which I enjoy, which I'm not bad at, I can do this kind of a thing. From this field, I can actually work on a lot of inventions. I can sort of work on a lot of research going around,
Yeah.
which can help me contribute to those things. Making that there are a lot of projects going on in the field of physics that contribute in this sort of, improving Earth's health and kind of a thing. A lot of work going on. Environmental physics, as it called, like solar energy, entire chapter comes from physics and all of that. And utilizing, sun's energy comes from astronomy and stuff like that. Those kind of thing. Like sending satellites up there to take that energy and do all of that kind of thing.
Dyson spheres, but
Something like that.
less
Exactly.
than that. Dyson spheres too.
Yeah, that's probably too fancy for me, I think, right now. But something like those kind of ideas are something that, they are the potentially, like, I can get there from this field.
Yeah. You don't know exactly how, but थोड़ा रास्ता है.
Somehow रास्ता है पहुंचने का.
हाँ.
Same thing with novel. That I want to publish out. I want to be an author someday point of my life. If I choose, say, if I right now only I choose to be an author, then I may not be able to contribute to the Earth's health wala thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if I choose this field of physics and if I keep following it, I see that I've met professors who follow their passion a lot. I've met professors who are passionate actors. जिनको हम छोटी मोटे movies में देखो, roles में देखो, they produce short films. And I see a lot of people like that. A lot of writers are professors. So I know that if I'm in this field, I can contribute to this field.
Yeah.
Apart from this, I may have some business ideas as well. And I see that professors out there, physics professors, they have little bit of enough time to actually work on the side business as well. I've met a lot of professors who have this sort of side business and all that they're running with the help of their family or themselves or something like that. If I have that sort of, I can run some sort of a side business which works on improving, human health or whatever. And given that I'm in the field of academia, is the best opportunity for me to improve the education system, to bring a revolution to the education system. So given that I have all the goals and where I want to reach, and I chose this one field, if I am in this field, all of these goals that I have, I can reach all of those goals, right? So things becomes comparatively easier for me. And now that I know my final goal, that this is what I want to do before I die, I have the liberty to figure out this path as I go ahead.
So now that you have the end goal in sight, it's like one step at a time.
Exactly.
एक-एक करके, not plan out 10 steps.
Not plan out 10 steps, because now, because I don't have a exact next 10 steps in my mind, those 3 things don't happen. That's not going to put any pressure on me.
Yeah.
क्योंकि मेरे पास कुछ plan था ही नहीं इसके लिए.
Yeah.
I just had my final step. I had my final destination and my next step. I could have also done the other way around, where I did not have any final contribution that I want to make. And I was like कि चलो अभी मैं BSc कर रहा हूँ, मैं मास्टर्स करूँगा, मैं PhD करूँगा, मैं पोस्ट डॉक जो है वो लाइगो में जाके नासा में जाके करूँगा, इस प्रोजेक्ट पे करूँगा, और आइंस्टाइन टेलीस्कोप पे करूँगा.
You don't have that.
मैं प्रोफेसर बनूंगा, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर, एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर, व्हाटएवर प्रोफेसर, मैं ये करूँगा, मैं वो करूँगा. आई डोंट हैव दैट, बिकॉज व्हाट्स द गारंटी कि तुम्हें PhD तुम जहाँ पे चाहते हो, तुम्हें MIT में मिली जाएगी, कैलटेक में मिली जाएगी, और पोस्ट डॉक तुम्हें नासा में या कहीं ऐसा आइंस्टाइन टेलीस्कोप की जगह पे मिल ही जाएगा, और तुम कहीं का असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर किसी बड़ी जगह पर. व्हाट इफ यू डोंट गेट दैट? व्हाट इफ इट डजंट हैपन? यू गोना हैव सो मच स्ट्रेस एंड सो मच built up inside you. It may happen. I'm not saying it won't happen, but in my experience, it's like, Murphy's law. In the simplest of the ways.
Something like that.
Yeah, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Something like that. So, in most of the cases, the way you think it will work out, it may not work out like that. कुछ ना उल्टा होगा. तुम कितनी मेहनत करो, कितनी प्लानिंग करो, कुछ ना उल्टा सीधा तो होगा.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a lot of stress. And the problem in doing that is that, you see, when I have step fixated in my mind, I do not get to explore much around them.
Yeah. Because you're like, यही certain path है, यही करके ये मिलेगा. इससे deviate नहीं करने का.
Even if you approach the final destination where you want to go, because you have followed this fixed path. Imagine a person who has also reached that final destination, but with that independence of, they may take more time than you.
Yeah.
They may take 5 or 10 years more.
Yeah.
But they have so much mega more experience than you. And when, at the end of the day, when your kid is going to be with you and when they ask you, hey dad, can you tell me some, whatever, can you tell me some stories about this part, or what fun did you do over there? It's when you're telling your story, when you're writing your leave kid and all, when you're writing your biography, it's much better to have this sort of an approach rather than having this sort of an approach.
Rather than the linear one.
Exactly. It's much better to have that sort of freedom. Yeah. And this freedom of exploring things out. I love traveling. For the next 2 months, let me get a traveling job. Let me many job options where you can, be a guide for some place. I think Niti Ayog and all of these, there are many internship options they give you.
Mm-hmm.
You can just go there. Many of these places, the agriculture ministry and all that, there's internships where you can go to some village of India. If you think that sort of thing interests you, you can explore that always. And then you figure out, what is the problem in agriculture right now? And the field that I am pursuing, say physics or bio, whatever, how can I improve in that field? What's the exact problem? If you're in the electronics field, if you're in the CS field, figure out can I make a small device or something like that you put in the soil, and I get what the acidity or salinity of the soil is.
Yeah.
And based on that, I figure out how much exactly the fertilizer am I supposed to put, so that we don't end up putting too much fertilizer or too less fertilizer, the exact fertilizer, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of, you may end up figuring out, making out that kind of device. You can sell and you can earn a lot and you can do a hell lot of things. You will only get this if you have this sort of approach. If you are thinking, hey, मुझे CS में interest है, I'm going to do this, you'll end up being an employee and nothing more. All of these people, if example, if you say the Google ke whatever founders and all, they had this sort of an idea, yeah, we want to make this search engine kind of a thing. They did not have कि भाई पहले यहाँ से अपन ने बैचलर्स कर लिया, अब स्टैनफोर्ड से PhD करके, स्टैनफोर्ड से PhD करने के बाद जो यहाँ पे अपन लोग का रिसर्च पब्लिश होगा, यहाँ के बाद यहाँ पोस्ट डॉक करके यहाँ प्रोफेसर करके, वंस वी आर प्रोफेसर वी आर गुड इनफ लेवल, वी कैन मेक नो. दे न्यू कि भाई हमें एक सर्च इंजन ऐसा उनके पास आइडिया था कि हमें ये बनाना है. एंड देन दे फॉलोड एवरी पॉसिबल पाथ. They went to an extent that they left Stanford.
So they dropped out.
They dropped out of Stanford. Ki, we'll just focus on this. And they did all of that and finally they reached it. Where they made it. Only happened because of this approach. I'm not saying that this approach is the best. For many people, this approach will work out. But in my case, I think like having this much of certainty may not be the best, may not be the ideal case for you. Because one thing doesn't happen, your entire structure falls and you are stressed about it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you may not have a great story to tell.
I think a good way to put it is this linear approach does not It doesn't optimize for feeling satisfied. It optimizes for reducing the uncertainty you have about the future.
Exactly.
And hence you aren't optimizing your satisfiability here. But other case mein, where you had the end goal in mind, but you're not planning too far ahead.
Exactly.
आगे के 2 कदम ही दिख रहे हैं और उतना ही प्लान करेंगे.
That's what Oscar Wilde says also. Oscar Wilde, that
Old Man and the Sea, that guy. The guy who wrote Old Man and the Sea.
Yeah.
IB education coming in.
Yeah.
शुक्र है कुछ तो लिया इस क्लास पे.
If you're working towards a cause, I don't know the exact words of the quote, it's a beautiful quote, but what he's saying in the quote is that if you're working towards a particular achievement, a particular goal in your mind, and you put all your sort of each and every step the same linear approach that you follow, you will get that. Okay, you will achieve that goal. And achieving that goal will be your punishment for being too clear. If you are too clear about what you want to do, you will achieve that goal. And achieving that goal will be your punishment.
Yeah.
That's what he says. Okay, achieving that goal with too much clarity will be a punishment, because you would have missed out everything else that you could have possibly been, that you could have possibly done. You would have missed out on all the other potential stuff that was around it because of too much clarity. So this too much clarity always comes with a lot of punishment kind of a stuff. Be clear. It's a good thing. Be clear about what you like, what you don't like, what you enjoy, what you're good at, what you can improve. Have clarity about these things, but not too much clarity कि भाई मैं तो इसके बाद यही करूँगा, ये नहीं मिला तो मैं blank ही हो जाऊँगा. Because what if a lot of people, like you said, job वाला thing, उनको job नहीं मिली तो blank हो गए वो तो. कि what am I supposed to do? हाँ, क्या अशोका में TF शिप तो मिलेगी नहीं क्योंकि मास्टर्स नहीं किया है, मास्टर्स के लिए अप्लाई नहीं किया क्योंकि हमें लगता जॉब मिल जाएगी, तो अब करेंगे, अब तो मतलब 1 साल तक अगले घर पे बैठे रह जाएंगे. अब तो लाइक a lot of uncertainty. If you have your top plan, you can figure out a million ways कि how the hell, do I reach there? That reminds me of a very classic experiment in physics, but a very beautiful experiment called Huygens double slit experiment.
Huygens. Oh, okay, huh.
The double slit.
Huygens. Yeah.
HUGY.
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Huygens, HUY, something like that, yeah. Correct. And the experiment is so beautiful. Like before that, everyone thought that electrons are particles, right? You throw it, you found it there.
I think it was Davison and German that did that one with electrons.
Could be. That's true.
Yeah.
That could be true. I think, yeah, maybe one of them.
But the principles were from Huygens, yeah.
He throw a particle and it becomes and goes like a ball. But then he puts slit over there, and then
as if you're shooting a gun, and the gun ka bullet just hits the wall.
Yeah,
that's how an electron works. Yeah.
That's
electron
what
gun ki jagah, so gun ki jagah electron gun.
Electron gun, and you shoot it, and you would expect
so
it to hit the wall.
Yeah.
Just a dot.
Just a dot right here.
But now, when he shot the electron bullet
through a hole or slit,
through a slit kind of a thing, like a grating kind of a thing,
yeah,
he saw an entire pattern.
Yeah, as if the electron hit here.
As if the electron was hitting not just at the spot where the electron bullet is aimed at, it was hitting all of these sort of points here on the screen.
Yeah.
All of that. So basically, the probability if I throw a ball, I can exactly say where the ball is gonna get. I can say the probability of hitting that ball over there is literally 100%. But in the case of electron, the electron was actually hitting all of these places.
Yeah.
So what's actually happening is not that. It's crazy because if you think about what the electron is doing, is that on that electron, it's a very, very classic experiment of one of the most beautiful experiments in physics. You can actually do it in any lab. Even in school labs, you can do it now.
Okay, it's that standard now.
It's that standard. And basic grating you get for a few 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees, something like that. But the electron is not intuitively, this may not be happening physically, but intuitively what's happening is that the electron is not. So for instance, if I want to walk from here to here, the way for me to walk is like this. But is that the only way for me to walk?
Probably not. Sideways, other
I can
paths.
Walk like this, right? I can walk like this, right?
Yeah.
There are millions of ways, and theoretically there are infinitely many ways. I can take a whole round of Ashoka and then come to this point.
Yeah.
Infinity ways of approaching this point.
Yeah.
That's what the electron is doing. The electron is not taking one approach. Every possible approach in the universe to reach from point A to point B in this universe, the electron is taking all the possible approaches to reach that destination, the entire screen that is in front of you.
Okay.
So between here and the electron gun, the electron is taking all possible routes to reach this place. And wherever these routes intersect, because all of these probabilities, all of these routes, of course, if I'm going from here, say to Ashoka, I take this round and I come in, but then I say, okay, I don't want to take the entire round. I'm going to go till Dhaba and then I'm going to come back. Then there will be some overlay, right? Although it's an entirely different part, but then some part is overlapping.
Yeah. If you take the same, ठीक है.
Right? Some thoda sa overlap aa gaya. So at whichever parts there is this overlap happening, that's where you see these lines.
Oh, it's the overlap.
It's sort of the probability overlapping. So basically you have because there are two lines overlap, because there are two possible paths overlapping.
Yeah.
The probability of finding the electron there has increased.
Okay.
So that's why in the screen what you're seeing over as, you would expect it to see as a dot, but you see multiple lines over here. That's because the probability of electron hitting those places was the highest. So electron is not taking this one path. It's taking all the possible paths between that place. That's the approach of electron. It's like, why should I go this path? I'm going to explore each and all the possible paths, all the infinite paths. It's checking all the infinite paths at once. That is a sort of approach which is a cool approach. Okay. Imagine like metaphorically that electron is a person. How much experience does the electron has now? that it has traveled so much.
Yeah, I like how you use a question about life and to answer it you use the most you use an experiment from quantum mechanics. ये सोचिए कि व्यूअर को तो समझ आ ही जाएगा. हाँ, लाइफ में डिसीजंस कैसे लेते हैं? I'll explain this through quantum mechanics. तो ये समझ नहीं आ रहा, ये तो आ ही जाएगा.
मतलब लाइफ तो किसी को समझ में नहीं आ रही, क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स किसी को समझ नहीं आ रही. इसके थ्रू ये समझा दो.
Feynman का quote. So if you think you understand quantum mechanics, then you don't understand it well enough. And then now we're here to trying to answer life with quantum mechanics. This does not work.
Yeah, but if you think about it, it's such a cool approach, right? Like if you can do, of course, in general, given that you have limited amount of time, you cannot possibly approach all the infinitely many paths.
And that's a good thing, I'd say. It makes you value the path you're on right
exactly.
now. Yeah.
Exactly. So you have limited, maybe not a million paths, but say 4 paths or 5 paths that you could have explored.
Yeah.
I want to be a writer. I'm going to, at some point of time, I'll try traveling, how that helps me being an author. I'm going to be a little bit in the research as well and see how that aspects. For example, now that I'm doing physics a bit, I get so many ideas that I can involve in my novel.
Yeah.
For example, I wanted to create this one species. Okay, like how novels have species, like for example, Harry Potter has muggles and this and whatever like that.
Muggles are just humans.
Muggles are humans,
magic.
Let's say wizards.
Yeah, okay.
Or whatever, like
I get what you mean.
So something like that.
Yeah.
Any J.R.R. Tolkien had dwarves and elves and all of that kind of thing. I wanted to create a species like this, which sort of can detect, say, which is not, whose receptors, whose senses are not like humans or even like, say, average animal out there.
Something completely different.
They are different in a sense that they sense not optical waves like you do, like this light, but infrared.
Okay, so band ka frequency change kar diya.
Band ka frequency you change it. So they are perceiving infrared, which is the heat.
Yeah.
Which means if they look at, say, I don't know, some very hot object,
they can see
how much heat it is. They can see the redness of that object. कि भाई यहाँ पे बहुत heat है और इसके side के environment से बहुत कम heat है. So basically they are mapping out the infrared. They are mapping out how much heat object releases and not how the object looks.
Yeah.
And given that,
or looks to us rather. If you think about it, you don't really know how.
Yeah, exactly. But if you wear an infrared goggle, something, if you look at a person, you would actually see a human figure.
Okay.
Because our body
radiates
heat. And our environment is not going to radiate that much heat. Our body is radiating much more heat. We are at 37 degrees Celsius. The room temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. So we will be much more redder than the environment through infrared goggles. Now, I want to create such a species which only perceives infrared, not optical, nothing like that. What kind of environment will this species live in? given that you know how humans optical travels the best in a transparent medium,
Light.
light. No,
Okay.
I mean like say the optical. For example, if I put this gate, you cannot see what's happening on the other side of the gate,
Right.
right? Because light is not gonna photons are not gonna pass through it. It's not transparent. So opticals, air is transparent. Our eyes or whatever the way we perceive light we have adjusted to the environment because we live on land
Yeah.
and the medium is air, which is transparent.
Okay.
And these photons, the optical photons, travel sort of the best in transparent medium. Our eyes adjusted and sort of became got optimized for these optical photons. That may not be the same for fishes.
Of course, different senses maybe.
Their eyes are not just, there are many fishes who are living at the depth of the oceans, and their optical receptors in their eyes are not as powerful as humans because they don't need it. Because anyways, the light is going to get refracted in this and that, and the photons will not reach you. Even if it's reaching you, it's refracted, so it may be it coming from somewhere else.
Right.
For example, when you look from the top of the swimming pool, you see that the base is very high. It's not that high actually. The base of the swimming pool, the bed is not that high. When you jump, you realize कि oh shit, ये तो 16 feet था और अपन को 4 feet लग रहा था. That's because of happening because of refraction, right? In that circumstances, optical photon may not be the best for a fish, which is why all these kind of animals have some different mechanisms helping them as well, based on their environment. कि वो जिस environment में हैं,
that's how their senses are formed.
Evolution has optimized their senses accordingly.
Yeah.
But now, if I am an animal who can see infrared, who can sort of sense infrared, what should the environment for me be? In what sort of environment does infrared travel the best? Now, I was thinking these kind of questions. How will my brain receive it? How will these waves be transferred in my body? What will happen? That sort of mechanism, in which environment does infrared? Is it like a metallic environment? Is it like a solid, a gaseous environment? Should it be translucent, just like this? What should the gas be like? How should they live? Should they live underground? Because, for example, if you live too close to the source of light, it's too bright for eyes to see it. You won't be able to, if I made आंखों के सामने torch रख दूँ, so you will get mad. You have to run backwards. So you can't live in a too much bright area, something like that. So, for example, maybe this transparent air is not the best place for a infrared being like that.
Yeah.
They may not need to go to some different location, something like that. These kind of things I realized here when I'm pursuing physics. ऐसे बहुत सारे ideas I can actually think about them physically. कि maybe to perceive infrared travels best in this kind of medium, which is why these kind of animals should live in this kind of region, in this sort of environment, so that their chances of survival are the best.
Yeah.
And that's how evolution has trained them. Or they were living in this kind of environment. That's why evolution trained them to see infrared that well. Something like that. And when I was pursuing this sort of physics, I realized that it's going to help in my novel journey as well. And I'm getting magnitudes of beautiful ideas. Just by being in that field, I'm getting so many ideas. Every class that I attend, every second class, I get one idea that I can incorporate in a novel. Literally every second class, I get it's a very small number. I know one idea is a very small number. But at the end of the day, when you have done hundreds of classes, I have gathered 50 ideas, which is a good deal, which can come into one book or one story.
Yeah.
That I can put out. And given that it's coming from logic, from physics, it is, in some sense, if I write it well, it could be, there's no loopholes into
because
it.
You already have background in physics.
Because I have the background.
Abide to the current physical laws.
Exactly. It's abiding all the laws. So my world that I'm going to build is not going to be just fancy magic. It's going to come out of pure logic.
Right.
But yeah, this can happen. So in that sense, I think, because if you sort of, if I'm very fixated कि भाई मुझे next step मुझे यही करना है,
चीजें नहीं आती.
और if I say to myself कि भाई आज की तारीख में नॉवल लिख के फायदा नहीं है, मैं सिर्फ फिजिक्स पे ध्यान दूंगा और नॉवल तो मैं 50 साल को तब करूंगा, you're gonna miss that out. You're gonna miss all these ideas out.
Yeah.
But because only in the hindsight of my mind I'm like नहीं मुझे नॉवल भी लिखनी है, in my mind I'm also following that approach. It is somewhere overlapping with my physics का degree. So when I'm taking my classes, I also get some ideas hit करता है कि भाई ये idea तो मैं कर सकता हूँ. Only because I have I'm following one more approach in my mind कि मुझे कभी जाके author ही बनना है. So to reach over there, I'm also sort of taking this new route as well. Which is why if you take multiple routes like this, कि I know कि यार जब मैं पब्लिश करने जाऊँगा कुछ भी, जब मैं लोगों से इंटरेक्ट हो, जब साइंस कम्युनिकेशन करूँगा, I will need a hell lot of experience with communication, with management. Which is why I make myself part of society, astronomy society or whatever.
Yeah.
I get a leadership position.
But I think even if you don't know कि मुझे यहाँ जाना है, just because तो एंड में पता नहीं कि भाई मुझे साइंस कम्युनिकेशन में जाना है, that's not a good enough reason to not
Exactly,
enroll
it's
in
not good.
societies.
Yeah, maybe after joining that,
I think you connected this. You connected the pieces in this position now.
In
अब तो
now.
पहुंच चुका है.
Precisely, yes.
I don't think back when you were part of AstroSoc or PhysicsSoc, when you were senior editor, you were working on your novel, I don't think then you were thinking about
Certainly not.
this way.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
इतना लंबा sort of plan तो कभी था ही नहीं.
हाँ.
But once you get done with it, then you realize कि हाँ यार
It did help.
It did help यार. Just because taking multiple paths and not being fixated कि मैं तो ये ही करूँगा लाइफ में अपनी, और इसके अलावा मैं कहीं इधर जैसे घोड़ा जैसे देखता है इधर से वैसा इधर उधर कहीं, that's gonna put you in a lot of trouble and you will end up missing on a lot of aspects, and at the end of the day you won't have a good story to tell.
In other words, don't take the path of least action.
Yeah, that's sort of true. You may have to spend a lot of energy doing different things, but it's worth it.
Yeah. You never know what's going to come out of it.
Exactly. So it's sort of worth it. All of it is worth
I
it.
think that's the biggest mistake people make in general. I had a question just in general. What do you think are the biggest mistakes undergraduates make? And I thought that this is the biggest mistake we make. Not exploring things because we think it's not going to provide utility. It doesn't have any utilitarian value, monetary value, or CV, resume value, है ना? But I think that just applies to everyone now.
Certainly.
Not exploring new things, even when you're older. When people think that you will have time to explore things, but maybe that's not the case. But